Board of Education regular meeting for July 27, 5:30 p.m. to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beckley?
Here.
Mr. Fawcett?
Here.
Mrs. Sproul?
Here.
Mr. Miles?
Here.
And Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the administrative report there.
Okay, Mrs. Miles sent an administrative report to everyone. Tonight on your agenda, we'll have jump start for summer school starting actually tomorrow through August 13th. And on your agenda, April Nisley, and that was also, just to preface that, that's April Kreitz, but she's married since. And Martha Maurer will be doing the summer teaching positions. That is through federal grants. So that is not general fund dollars. That's federal grants that we have for that. She did highlight that 77 out of 84 students are ready to come to preschool. Due to the COVID restrictions and the number of kids within a room, we have to cut that number down just because of the state, not the state guideline, the federal guidelines as far as number of preschoolers in a room. So when the state shut down and daycares, you could only have like 9 kids total. So we're accommodating those numbers. So it's going to be about 2 days a week for these kids when you talk about split schedules.
So are they going to go half days or they'll just go a group of?
I'm thinking they're going to go alternating days.
Okay.
So still 4 days a week of school, but they'll have to alternate. Now there is a thing where you could put a divider in the middle of the room and you could have 9 on one side, 9 on the other. So we're kind of exploring that option, but we have one teacher, so that teacher would have to be splitting between the sides, and we have the 1 aide per classroom, so they'd have to interchange around to make sure we can kind of accommodate that. But those are restrictions placed upon us by the state for those numbers. The reopening plan, those are the numbers that are that were in the curriculum news that she gave are tentative numbers as of this time, as far as the people who are picking remote and the people who are picking just straight online. But in that packet, I'll just pick 5th grade, for example. Right now, 114 students in 5th grade parents say that they would like their kid come face-to-face. 13 of those say remote option, and 4 would like to just be straight online. So our plan is, well, we're looking at that face-to-face. 4 days a week would be face-to-face, and that 5th day in our daily schedule is for preparation for remote learning. And I'm kind of shifting gears, but we're kind of flipping our classroom. And when you flip a classroom, is the bulk of the teaching would be in videos, and then some of the in-person would be then, like on Monday, they pull it up. I watched the videos of the teacher teaching, and then I'm going to reteach in person. And then there will be another video of reteaching in person. So that's kind of what we're flipping a classroom. Their homework would be watch the videos, prep through those things, and there will be lessons that will go with it there, because it could be multiple parts. In ELA, you could have a written expression activity, you could have a grammar activity, and whatever other activities. So there will be multiple videos. So that's why we're looking at 4 days on, 1 day off at the current orange where we are today.
And that just makes for an easier transition should we have to go remote, correct?
It does.
Yeah.
And we with our reopening team that we had the task force, that was the biggest thing as far as, if we went 5 days, 1, we had to have time to plan for remote learning. And 2, as far as what's on a Thursday, Governor DeWine comes out and says our county's in red, then we have to flip to an AB schedule, or we're in purple. I'm hearing scuttlebutt that potentially we could just be moved to a kind of a shutdown again where kids aren't attending. So we need to be prepared for that. And this plan kind of laid things out in that aspect of stuff.
Now, these numbers, I just know because it's a big controversy right now. Is this prior to mandatory masks or not?
These are current as of,
Okay, so even after that last,
yes.
I'll call you to, okay.
Yeah, these are kind of current numbers, and we may experience more with the mandatory mask or not. I don't know. There was a lot of parents responded back or called in and saying, "Are you going to make mask mandatory?" That wasn't our. If the guidance came back, yes, we had to, then we would. If they were recommended, we wouldn't recommend it.
Right,
But now we have to at this point.
right.
So didn't change much, but it did
Okay.
change some.
Yeah, I just wondered.
The recommended grading scale for our COVID time would be like a 90 to 100, taking it down to the last D being a 60%. Currently, our last D is 64%, or 65%, I'm sorry. 64 would be the first failing grade. We had a lot of students who struggled with the remote learning piece of it. Our administrative team kind of felt like it was penalizing our students for attempting something they've never tried before, and the format that we were trying to accomplish with school. So that we have that recommended for that grading scale, and we can revert back to that. Professional development. Mrs. Miles and I were working on our scheduling today. We are looking for our first staff day as the 8th. Teachers report the 17th for a work day. The 18th, we'll be starting our Leader in Me training. And we usually have a big meeting in the high school cafeteria. We're looking at now that we'll have our general, I'll Zoom everybody, welcome everybody back, and then we start our training with Leader in Me on the 18th and 19th. It'll be smaller numbers going to our buildings versus everybody all together in the cafeteria here. Letters training continues. Those are part of grants. Haggerty training, that's a good training for phonemic awareness. Special ed training will be Wilson. Wilson's another real good program for those special ed students. It gives them another reading, another pathway to work on reading skills that may not have worked otherwise for others. And then the high school, part of their school improvement grant is going to be, they've chosen to implement Read 180. It's another reading program, obviously with the title, but it's an intervention program. And I know Mrs. Kahn was working on a couple periods of a day for those students who fit that need for that particular program. So we have in her report. I'll just go into presentations or kind of updates.
Okay.
Okay. Just want a construction update tonight. We have diversified engineering will be on the agenda for tonight to hire them as our architect / engineer for our project to get our design started. We have spoken on the phone regarding our timeline to get started. So they are ready to, as of tomorrow morning, if they haven't already done so, continue to keep working on those. We have posted, last Monday, we had a construction, anybody interested in being a construction manager at risk. We had a tour of our facilities at the stadium. We had 6 companies show up that day. After that meeting, 2 other companies have reached out, and one did take a tour. Miss Lent took them around, and another one just talked to Miss Lent via phone. Proposals are due Friday for our construction manager proposals. Our committee, our construction committee, which is Mr. Beckley and Mr. Miles, myself, and Miss Lent and Miss Beckley. There's a meeting Wednesday at 4, so we're going to formulate our questions for our interviews. The 3rd initial proposals are due The 4th, we will ask for short list pricing, so they can maybe trim their proposals a little bit. The 12th of August, we will conduct interviews. Our committee will pick the top 3 and then conduct interviews. And then from there, we can go an avenue of reopening and picking others, or we would select from those top 3 that we have. And then I have it here, August 17th is in our notice that we will hire a construction manager. We can decide at the end of tonight's meeting whether we hold our regular scheduled meeting the 10th or just move it to the 17th. And that's only a couple weeks away anyway. But that's kind of an update where we are with our construction. Kim and I last week and Colin, I'll have to get you yours. We have the global presentation that we gave and presented to SP Global for our COPS, and our COPS acronym for, I don't remember, but basically it's for our loan for the project. So you have in front of you our proposal for them, and we went through that. Kim and I were divided up slides and presented over the phone to this company, and I think that it went very, very well. We should know back by Thursday or Friday this week, and we should have financing by the 1st of September. All said and done, but we were told we can start moving forward with our projects. So, but we have those.
Mr. Rich, how much did you decide to go with then on the loan? Did you decide to max it out, or?
What we went with was 6.5.
Okay.
And then that was we talked about that. We talked about with our advisor, the guy that we worked through with this. They gave us a little bit of wiggle room it doesn't give us much PI left over, but it does give us a little bit of PI money. Basically, the juice kind of wasn't worth the squeeze, I guess, at that point in time when we were doing the presentation. So we just stuck with 6.5.
Okay.
So, okay.
You know, and this is something a little here, but I noticed the logo up there in the left-hand corner of
Correct.
our program.
Yes.
Okay, can we get that corrected to the right one? I mean, it's a little thing right now,
Yeah.
but our next ones that come out
Yeah.
to us, can we have the right one up there with the?
Yeah.
Okay,
The district approved logo.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, okay. Little thing, but
I know. But or I say when we raise the money for the turf, we will make sure that the district logo with the C is and the horses in that one, not with the shoe, the
right,
horseshoe.
right.
So, reopening plan, I think I touched base on a little bit. Since we started the process back in the beginning of June, plans have changed a little bit with the last mandate with the mandatory masks. So that had to be instituted for 10 years old and up. As you guys know, things change almost every day with our situation. Whether we'll be on a level 2 or whether we'll be a level 4 or just shut down for a period of time. Like Mr. Miles said, just be ready to jump between face-to-face to remote learning at the snap of a finger. So addressing all the issues, the plan was shared with the Tuscarawas County Health Department. They came back with some CDC recommendations. In our plan, we had 72 hours fever-free. That CDC is now set as 24 hours fever-free without medication. So that change had to be made. There were a few other things that were into those too. So our team spent a lot of time with that, but our team was Kelsey Barnhart, Allie Bowe, Courtney Cameron, April Christ Nicely, Mandy Edwards, Shauna Hupp, Carrie Kunkel, Holly Lloyd, Andre McMath, Kelly Page, Matt Schumann, Jill Wagner, Clara Warner, Tiffany Haney, Stacy Dunn, Michelle Henry, Richard Page, Brian Watkins, Eric Seibert, Jody Miles, and Amy Kahn, and myself. So as you can see, as the number of names I've listed are read, we had a huge group working on this plan, not including our custodial staff with Mrs. Lind regarding hand sanitizer stations, how we're going to be cleaning through the buildings and, you know, putting in 6 feet signs and those things. So we're still developing, but the part of the reopening for the curriculum piece, this was the bulk of people that were involved in that.
On behalf of the board, I'd like for you to thank everyone that was involved on that and their time and energy put into this to get our kids back in school.
Will do. I touched about the reopening task force, reopening plan, and one last thing I want to touch on is I want to thank Robert and Trudy Sensel for a $5,000 donation for phase 2 of the stadium project. I really appreciate them. That was their private donation for that. And one board meeting we all signed thank you notes. I had 2 left, so I sent one of those. So another board meeting when we have everybody here, I'll get some more as these donations begin to continue.
Okay.
Just some things that we did at the hospital, like with the water fountains and stuff. I know a lot of people are switching those over where kids can fill water bottles up instead of using a water fountain. I just didn't know with any of the funding or anything how that we got for that.
I will have to check in as far as switching. Right now, they're currently turned off.
Right.
So we'll have to come up with a plan for that. To see if we can
Unless
do that.
it would be cheaper just to offer like mini bottles of water or something other than transferring all those over, but it probably would be. If you had, I don't know how many water fountains we have per school, but it might be cheaper just to install one of those instead.
Even
of
in
plumbing.
Gilbert's, a place like that, they got them taped off.
Yeah, I said some people are transfer them into where you can fill your own water bottle up instead of.
Yeah, I'll have to check into that. While we're on the extra money that we did receive, we're purchasing a face mask for 10 years old and up. I do know I have some community members working on making face masks. When I get those, I'll put them on for accommodations too. We were providing shields for the teachers. They have to wear masks, but if you are teaching phonics and you want to see their lips and how to, especially like I say in speech class, put your tongue to your top of your teeth to say the L, then how's that go? And you can't see with the mask. So we were looking at those. What some of the other things that we were.
That's the report.
It's in the report.
I was just gonna, but yeah, face shields, face masks, sanitizing, some Chromebooks, but
Yeah.
I was gonna
Touch on
touch on
those.
that when
Okay.
they're mine.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Do you have anything else at this time?
I don't.
Okay, before we go into executive session, I missed this earlier. I'd like to welcome everyone that's tuned in to our board meeting and also welcome to Colin there. So I'm going to entertain a motion that we go into executive session.
Or do you want to save it for the end
I think we want to go now.
now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so
Okay.
we don't have to-
Okay.
So I will entertain the motion that we go into executive session for number 4, discipline. Number D, preparing for conducting and reviewing negotiations or bargaining. And letter E, matters required to be kept confidential. And I'll make that motion. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any questions on that? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mr. Miles,
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
Okay, time 5:50. I declare that Board of Education meetings out of the executive session at 7:57. Okay, we'll move on to the addendum items.
Addendum item, in your draft packet you were sent, but you have addendum items to it. Letter I, need a motion and a second to add that addendum to the board agenda.
Okay, do we have a,
I'll move.
okay. Mr. Sproul, do we have a second? Mr. Mel? Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Miles,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett,
You're on mute.
Sorry, yes.
and Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
Items to be pulled.
I know we have a few items to be pulled. I did my best to try to remember who was related to whom. Mrs. Sproul, you want to go over the item, what was that, Z?
So we're gonna make Z1, it'll be for the continuing contracts, Mandy Frank, Cindy Young, and Deb Young. Will be that one. And then we're gonna do a Z2, also for a continuing contract for Chris Miles.
Amy Frank, Deb Young, and who was the other one?
Cindy Young.
Cindy. I know we need to move item, which one was that, Kim? P, employing Carmen Fawcett. We need to pull her separately since she's related to Austin or Colin. The other one we need to move. Okay. So I guess we need a motion and a second to pull those items separately.
I'll move.
Do we have a second? Mr. Trevor. Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yeah.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
and Mr. Miles.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go into the treasurer's report.
Okay, just to highlight couple of things, ending the year, within your packet there. We finished with a carryover balance of, 5,653,053.51. That showed a loss in our general fund, ended up being $637,832 for the year. We have gotten notification, the foundation reports show that we had a 240,000 roughly estimated reduction that we finished out fiscal year 20. That is what was carried forward into fiscal year 21 as of right now. So at least that 240,000 spread over 24 payments is a lot better than over 3 payments. So that's a reduction of like 1.32%. We have received, there's a couple coronavirus relief stuff coming from the CARES Act. We got notification that the ESSER funds, we received $491,990.83. We are going to be using that to purchase some of our remote learning software to be used this next school year. And it will also help cover some of the loss from wages and benefits. And then there was another fund that they came out with that was like a week and a half ago, the CRF funds. We got $110,181, and we're using that, as we discussed earlier, on PPE, sanitation stuff, some of the remote technology, also including 130 new Chromebooks for the teachers. So just to give you that. Was there any other questions or on any of the reports presented? If not, I'm seeking a motion and a second to approve the financial report for June, the payment of bills as presented, the board meeting minutes of June 22nd. There was also a class intent form in there for the middle school student council to give some money for their facility dog. And then also the change funds for this next year.
I'll make that motion. Do we have a second? Any discussions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer,
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
and Mr. Miles. Thank you. Oh, one other item. We had tabled this last, or had postponed the vote on this last month, but to approve the monthly health insurance rates established by the Stark County Council of Government for this next fiscal year. And the chart there shows the single and family cost that we will be charged this next year. The medical is equal to a 3.85% increase over our premiums last year. And there was no increase in our dental and vision. And we will also receive 2 months this year again for premium holidays, which is being done in July and in August. So that means no premiums paid by employees or board has to pay anything.
Okay. We need a motion to approve that. Colin?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Mallon. Okay, roll call, please.
Well,
He can't.
He can't second.
Yeah, 'cause we have to
You have to
abstain.
abstain.
Oh, that's right.
He's on there.
Be
Yeah,
you
you
or-
gotta abstain, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Michelle? She can't
She
either.
can't
either.
We're
Okay.
kidding, come on.
All right.
Any?
All right. Roll call now.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yeah.
Mrs. Sproul, and Mr. Miles.
Thank you. Okay, move into superintendent.
I'll go through these items here and then I'm making notes, so we pull separately. Motion and a second for the following items. We talked about the reopening plan for the start of school. Amend the school calendar. Our first day of school will be September 8th for the purposes of staff development, assessment development, and instructional planning. We're postponing the start of school to September 8th. Amend the East Central Ohio contract to reflect $115,000. Last time we had a board meeting, we approved 75 or 6,000 or so. We neglected to put in there a grant that we have through quality improvement, but we're also utilizing the ESC to help provide that professional development. It's paid through a grant, but it still needs to be reflected in the contract for the ESC. Approved Diversified Engineering Incorporated at the cost of $212,179 for stadium renovation, final design, and construction drawings. Approve the contract with the Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital for a trainer. Approve the Business Advisory Council draft minutes. And as in those draft minutes, they hadn't scheduled the next meeting at this point yet, but they don't become official until that next meeting. Approve the preschool handbook for 2021. Rescind the gifted coordinator consultation contract for Julie Beach. Letter I, which was from the addendum, accept the following resignations: Chad Shoemaker, effective at the conclusion of the 1920 school year; Tori Connor at the conclusion of the 1920 school year; and Autumn Murphy at June 30th. So I want to thank those people for their service and wish them luck in their next endeavors.
You said autumn.
Is it Autumn?
McCray.
McCray.
Okay, it's the same
It's
McCray.
McCray, not Murphy.
One of them was wrong.
Okay. Recall Derek Roush from the certified class reduction of force list as a teacher at Claymont Middle School for the 2021 school year. So I want to welcome back Mr. Roush. enter into an agreement for Kids Link School at 91,000 for special education services. Currently, we have a student who travels to Talmadge, Ravenna area. So we, part of that contract, approve the resignation of Rich Struk and his middle school golf coach for 2021. Rich is resigning that to take the tennis position for girls tennis. Approve the unpaid leave of absence for Jordan Beebe for 2021 school year. Approve the extended service contract for Vonda Guerra Brandt, 10 days. Jennifer Jarogi for 5 days. Susan Monticelli for 5. Sydney Stinson, our new FFA instructor, for 30 days. We're going to employ Robert Manchester, a temporary limited contract, a social studies teacher at the high school due to Mr. Beebe's leave of absence. Mr. Manchester will remain on the RIF list, but he will have a limited contract to come back to be able to teach for there. If at any point in time he finds employment someplace else, we'll let him do so, but Mr. Manchester is glad to be back in some sorts of capacity with our district. I'm going to jump to letter Q. Employ the following certified administrative members as the reopening task force at $20 per hour. And you have the list there of those people who are part of the task force for those dates. As in employing Jumpstart teachers starting tomorrow, the 28th of July through the 13th for Tuesdays through Thursdays from 9 to 11 at the hour rate of $20 for April Price Nicely and Martha Maurer. Employing the athletic supplemental contract for 2021 school year, pending proper certification. And those are as listed. Rich, Tim Zerker, Susanna Hall, Rana Tukosh, Morgan Tanarelli, Sharon Go, Courtney Grove, and Amber Fischler. Currently, right now, we're moving forward with our plans to have athletics until we hear otherwise from either the Ohio High School Athletic Association, Health Department, Ohio Health Department, our governor. At this point in time, we're just moving forward as planned, but I would not be surprised if something changes here within the next week or two. Employ the following non-athletic supplemental contracts. With that, we're going to still have band at our home football games. So we'd have Jim Howe, Farrah Rains, Todd Rains, and Scott Thomas. The following volunteers for cheerleading, Sarah Vogt and Kaylin Fitcher. Approve the athletic prices for our events. Athletic handbook for students. Approve our 2021 bus routes. And as a result of our bus routes, we have a reduction of force. We're going to operate next year with 11 bus routes from 16. We will be reducing force of Brandy Leglise, Holly Ratterchak, and Penny Dixon.
Okay. We need a motion to accept the superintendent's report.
I'll move.
Okay, Mr. Tremor, and Mrs. Sproul. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Trimmer,
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul, Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
and Mr. Miles.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to try to do these with separate. So item Z, approve the following educational contracts for the 2021 school year, excluding Andy Frank, Deb Young, Cindy Young, and Chris Miles. And we also have a third one-year contract for Dusty Milburn. So I need a motion second for.
So moved. Do we have a second? Mr. Mills? No, he can't. Okay.
No, he can for this.
No, he can.
Yeah.
We pulled it separately.
Roll call.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mr. Miles,
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
and Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
Motion second. And for following continuing contracts for Mandy Frink, Deb Young, and Cindy Young. And Mrs. Sproul would be abstaining due to having relatives. Those are her relatives. Need a motion and second.
Okay, need a motion.
Mr. Trimmer, so you'll be it.
Mr. Fawcett. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Trimmer,
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
and Mr. Miles.
Z2 would be a motion and second to have a contract with Chris Miles, and Mr. Miles would be giving an attention for this.
I'll move.
I second that. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yeah.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
and Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
Oh, I put P at the end.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, motion and second for approved Brian Duvall Middle School golf coach for 2021 school year. I believe you're related to Mr. Duvall. So you're abstaining for here.
Do I have a second? Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
roll call.
Mr. Trimmer,
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mr. Miles.
Okay, next motion and second, which Mr. Trimmer is related to Mike Trimmer. And he was volunteer for football pending proper certification.
I'll move.
I'll second that. Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yeah.
Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mr. Miles.
Item CC, supplemental contract. Mr. Miles needs to abstain because Hunter Miles is related. So need a motion and a second for Hunter Miles as assistant football coach.
I'll move.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Which one's the next one?
What's he laughing?
Mrs. Sproul, Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mr. Beckley,
Yeah.
and Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
All right, motion and a second. Mr. Beckley needs to abstain as for Ian Beckley being a volunteer cheerleading advisor.
I'll move.
Do we have a second? Mr. Mel. Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Miles, Mr. Fawcett,
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
Item P, which would be to employ Harmon Fawcett as intermediate primary custodian from the hours of 3 to 11, effective today, July 27th, on a 90-day probationary period contract. Mr. Fawcett has to abstain. So motion and second for this.
So moved. Do we have a second? Mr. Trimmer, roll call.
Mr. Beckley,
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer,
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul,
Yes.
Mr. Miles.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Okay, is that all that you have?
That is all. New business. Just wanted to, came out today that the Capitol Conference and Trade Show will be held virtually this year. So there will be no Capitol Conference physically in Columbus. But we'll still be able to attend that virtually this year. And it doesn't say, but I had the dates of like the November 10th, 11th, and 12th, something like that.
Okay.
Are they charging?
It's not written in here, but
I was just like, can we all do it if not charging
Yeah.
or not?
I don't know. More information will be coming out, but when they're holding it virtually, they're probably needing to pay for some of the attorneys or things that are coming, but hopefully the fee wouldn't be so large.
Anything else under new business?
I do not have anything.
Okay, I would just like to pass on our sympathy to the Ronnie Vinci family on the passing of Ronnie. He was an educator here at the Claymont school system for 30 plus he served on the Board of Education.
and I believe he passed a couple weeks ago. So we'd like to send a note to his family for that.
We did send
Did
a
you?
flower arrangement
Okay.
on behalf of the
Okay.
board.
So I'd like to have that in the minutes then. And what are we gonna set for our next meeting date? Are we staying with the regular date or?
If the, I suggest, my suggestion would be that we make our regular session August 17th.
Okay,
That way we don't have to hold a special meeting to hire our construction manager.
okay. Okay, next board meeting be August 17th at 5:30 here at the high school. Stevie, remember we have a meeting July the 29th at 4 o'clock on the stadium. Okay? Anything from the Board of Education for the betterment of the district? If not, I need a motion to adjourn. Okay. Roll call.
Are you seconding, Michelle? Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
And Mr. Miles?
Colin, have a good vacation, buddy.